All right, here we go. I hope everybody is having a great afternoon. We got a good one today, going over bootloaders. Added some extra stuff into the stream too, so we should have a fun time. We got a lot going on. Most people, I know I just did the Arch Titus this past Friday, and I've been working really hard kind of getting all the issues addressed through GitHub that have kind of been brought up with that. One of the biggest issues, though, is in relation to the bootloader and kind of inspired this live stream. And that is a lot of times people just don't use EFI or UEFI. And when that happens, how I design the bootloader to work and automatically install, well, we ran into some problems because people doing BIOS firmware were unable to, make it over into the install portion, or it just wouldn't boot because it needed EFI. You can't cross these two when that happens. So but hello chat, I see John in chat, Charles, how you guys doing? Dark Ombre, oh man, I want to say Jassy, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how you pronounce it. But good seeing you guys. But raid party first before we start the stream always. What is Arch Titus? That is a complete automated script. We use it today. We'll reinstall some stuff. Let's see. Have you considered using Whiptail with the Arch Titus script? I have not. I'll definitely look into that though. And yeah. Mustafa, why'd you stop publishing to Odyssey? I don't believe in platforms. Period. Like, if I'm gonna tell someone to go watch me somewhere, use Odyssey as a backup, which is good. A lot of creators don't have the expertise to properly back up a lot of their video, and having it live somewhere else is always a good thing. So it's not that I don't like Odyssey, it's just it didn't make sense for me. Hey, Michael's in chat. Charles, what's going on? Also, I got something. Oh, I should have done this. Now I can actually click and get stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. It's a new plugin that I found for Chromium browsers, to where you can actually click certain things in chat. So when I answer a question, I can just click it, and it's great. So that's pretty cool. Did you ever? Yeah. TeamOS is actually, I would not recommend their products. I've actually, a lot of times they use certain modifications to Windows that, let's just say, are not great. So they do have a lot of custom ISOs over there, and I think they've been shut down a couple times by piracy laws. So careful with TeamOS. Yeah, so John, what I'm doing today is bootloaders, fixes in relation to the Archify script. A lot of people were having issues with trying to install it on VM machines and trying to do it through BIOS firmware, which I kind of explained at the start of the stream. But yeah, we're going to be doing a bootloader that can do both BIOS and UEFI, and we'll use Arch Titus as the testing grounds for that. So that's kind of what's on the agenda today. I just finished a webinar on SQL Server and saw you were live. Ah, that's awesome, man. Thanks, Jennifer. Titus, could you please tell me a desktop environment, the most customization, and eye candy? Any of them. So if you're looking for a desktop environment with the most customization and eye candy, well, you just create it. All of them out of the gate kind of meh. Nothing really great right out of the gate, but well, you can add customization to any of them, and it's just amazing. Open source tech, it should work right out of the gate. Have you tried the newest version? I think I published it yesterday. So if you haven't tried it since yesterday, I have made some pretty big improvements to it, so definitely check it out again. Is it possible to make a live animated wallpaper engine like Bootloader? No, not. Because you have to load so many things to get that graphics acceleration to make it functional. So an animated bootloader, you can do some animation, but usually it's in the form of like a progress bar. And a fully animated wallpaper, I mean, you're talking almost video from a bootloader, and that's just never going to be a thing. Good question, though. It's interesting. There is some animation that can happen, and we'll kind of explore a little bit of that. So we will have to have the bootloader on UEFI then. Yeah, to do Arch Titus right now, you have to have UEFI. If it's sitting on like a BIOS firmware and not UEFI firmware, it's just not going to work. It's not going to boot. You're just going to have either a black screen or it's just not going to go. And I don't think I was too clear on that, so my bad. My bad on that, John. John Bateman. Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Arch full time. That's greatness. I love it. It's so great. Does all wallpaper engine? Yeah, it does. Some of wallpaper engines a little bit janky on Arch, so just know. Animated splash screen. Yes, splash screen can do. We'll touch on that, and we can actually change it around. I like KDE because it's so noob friendly. Like anyone can make a custom animated splash screen through a KDE, and we'll drop the desktop and take a peek at that as well. My PC BIOS and Legacy won't learn Arch Linux. You can do Arch Linux through PC BIOS, and we'll tackle that today, Photo. That's a play on words there, photo, but not photo. Can we make C-Matrix animation in the bootloader? No. I mean, well, kinda. I mean, there's some hacks we can do. I won't say no. I always like to tell people nothing's impossible. It's just getting there can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. What's the best dual bootloader you think? Easiest to install and configure would be Refined. Overall, the best looking for a dual bootloader is going to be Grub. So out of the two bootloaders, that's it. For Windows users that main Windows and want to dual boot on the same drive, you pretty much have to use Windows Boot Manager because it will overwrite anything you do. So Boot MGR is what you should be looking at. It's not nice to dual boot if you need Office. There's a couple workarounds. I mean, Office has gotten to a point where it's not so bad, and you could use some open source alternatives, or I don't really like a whole lot of Offices. There's a couple good ones that I recommend, like Only Office. I liked Free Office. There's some that are good. LibreOffice is a little bit janky just because it's more skewed towards the open source realm, and it's not that friendly with Microsoft Office out of the gate. You have to go through a good bit of configuration to get it there. So that's the downsides to that. But these days, almost everything is cloud-based and has cloud compatibility to where you don't really need to install the software itself. Unless you're a power user, then hey, I get it. I get it for sure. Can I install deb packages? No. I mean, again, this is one of those things is anything is possible, but should you? It's like that Jurassic Park meme, you know? Just because you could do it doesn't mean you should do it. So I'm hesitant to even tell you about this just because I don't want you to do this. You should just build from source and call it a day. But if it's a deb package you absolutely have and you've exhausted all other options, there's something called Alien. And Alien can actually take deb packages and convert them to something that Arch could use, or even an RPM. So if you're on Fedora, a lot of times it goes that way too. Or I think Alien can even go from RPM packages, which is Rails version of deb packages, and can convert them otherwise. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting project. I still think it's kind of pointless because most things are open source and you can just build it yourself. But in a pinch, there you go. Alien is something to check out. You use Office 365 online? Yes, extensively. So I do use Office 365. The big thing with Office 365 is Exchange Online. That's probably the biggest thing that I like. I've used other email providers and other things like that, but Office Online is actually pretty darn good. I really do like it. So, you know, it's a good suite, although they're getting kind of greedy lately. I remember 4 or 5 years back, Office 365, man, you could do you could cheese like 5 licenses out of one $5 a month fee. But their plans, as it's gotten more popular and established more dominance, it's definitely gone up, and they've taken away a lot of the loopholes you could do with some of the licensing. So not as good as it used to be, but still a dominant force in the business realm. Chris just opened up a can of worms. Speaking of worms, let's get on the desktop and get going on this. What happened to the gaming script? I'm starting to work on implementing some of that, Simon. Specifically, I took the graphics drivers and some things. I wanted to do it for more of compatibility purposes. Portions of that game. No, not again. All right. Oh my gosh. I swear. All right, I think I know what's causing this. I think my switch is going out. Jeez. Oh, shoot. One second. What happened there? Oh my gosh. All right. That was interesting. I am going to switch my network adapter around in my stream PC here. Let's come back here. This is going to probably interrupt the stream again, but I think there's something up with this adapter. So I'm going to... This is going to be interesting. Let's see if it drops. Enabling it, and here it goes. This might cause some headaches. I'm about to disable this, and oh man, it's going to be interesting. Since the stream PC is on Windows, I would love to do some network teaming or NIC teaming, because I think there's something up with the actual switch itself. I might look into that too, but I'm going to leave that on, see what happens. Man, if we have interruptions, it's going to be a short stream. Let's get on the desktop and get into today's video, and I'm just going to keep an eye on that. You guys just type F in chats when it goes down. I have a feeling I got to replace that whole switch. I think I got a bad switch. Shucks. Yeah, it's just the networking switch that I'm using. It's a managed switch that I got for free, so I can't really complain, but it's kind of a hot mess. Yeah, Debian got mad when I mentioned Alien. Oh, the picture's off. I'll have to take a look. Yeah, sometimes when you have an interruption in stream, it'll downgrade your video quality on that end, and you actually have to manually go back in and tick it up to HD again. Again, we'll see what happens and see if we have any more interruptions. I did enable a second NIC card on my streaming PC, and hopefully that's able to fix some of this, but I bet you it's the switch that all these computers plug into, as I've noticed it's been getting kind of overloaded lately and excessive heat and just not performing all the best. So we'll see. All right, let's get into today's video. From our desktop here, we're going to reboot and start in on the bootloader and start working here. Let's give it a little reboot. And we're going to go right into our Titus instance here. Hey, how's it going, Matt? Good day to you too, sir. What is the audio interface? Soundcraft UI. Not my favorite. I am going to upgrade to UFX Plus, I believe it is. That's what you see in a lot of recording studios. It's a lot more reliable. The preamps and stuff in it are considerably better, but it's like 4 or 5 times the price of the Soundcraft. Man, it's getting hot in here. Come on, kick on, AC. All right, so we'll go into our Linux. This is the bootloader it's on now. This is actually a system D boot. This is what Titus is running. And this boots into it. We will probably change this around a bit and switch it over to grub. This requires obviously the grub package, and then we need to install the bootloader on the actual system. Now we'll have to probably do this a couple times just because I will be integrating this into a script form. But first, I wanted to install grub and then look at actually making a custom theme. Yeah, we'll use grub for Windows as well. Yeah, some folks, what do we have? Oh, the actual sys tray. Yeah, I think I'm missing a sys tray package there. We can also look at that and do a commit. I have a couple things on the test branch of Titus that we'll take a peek at, but let's go ahead and install the bootloader real quick. And we're just going to grab grub. Grub's already there, so let's go lsblk, and this is actually going to be running on NVMe N1. So usually you can just do a grub. First you need to do a make config of grub, and I don't remember this command off the top of my head, so we'll do what everyone else does, check out the old wiki. So let's go archwiki. And we're just going to grab this. Now, even if you're using something else on Linux, it's okay. ArchWiki actually has a lot of good universal commands that work in all distributions. So we're going to go grub bootloader. And also the link on top is the actual man page from the GNU project. And EFI systems. So this is an EFI boot. So we need to do check to see if you are booted EFI or not. So that's an important thing. Oh, let's see. Let's just cancel that. It's fine. So let's take a peek here. The first thing is to make that configuration file, which if we look, there's the install, but I believe there's a grub make config that we need to do first. I think it's configuration. Yeah, this guy right here is basically what you're going to need to do. We'll put that in, but that's definitely going to need a sudo command, so we'll put that guy in. No such file or directory, which is fine. Let's just do a grub install. And then I believe for this one, since we're using UEFI, If you're on legacy or BIOS firmware, obviously you can just do a grub install and then do like dev SDA would be the most common, and it would install it. But since we're EFI, usually you have to add a little bit more. Something like this. I find you don't need the target. However, you do need the EFI directory, and you don't need this. So grub install, usually specify the EFI directory, and I usually just do this as boot, and it's fine. I know a lot of people like just doing like EFI as the EFI directory in boot, but me personally, I do just do the root of boot, which does grab a lot of your kernels and other things, but again, it's fine for today's purposes. So we'll just do EFI directory and go boot. And I think we would also need to specify the drive we're doing it on, which should be NVMe 1 in 1. And I think on this one, when you install grub, you don't actually specify the partition. And I think that should do it. Let's run that as sudo. I can't run it as user. All right, so that does look like it installed that. And now we usually just make the output file right there. And let's see what's happening with that. It looks like everything worked, except OS Prober was not there. OS Prober is needed for Windows installs. And yeah, and we're gonna make our own bootloader too. We'll load up a custom theme using the theming GitHub project that I've done in the past. But right now we're just installing this bootloader. Let's also install OS Prober though. We'll grab that. Looks like it was already installed. So that usually means we need to edit. We'll do a sudo vim etc. Oh, you know what? I got these things too. I got split keyboards, so I need to start using those. I have been relying on the other keyboard, so let's switch to a split keyboard, see if I'm any better or worse. Probably worse. I just got this yesterday, so I have my regular keyboard in front of me if I get too frustrated. But we're gonna go edc grub, I think it is, or no, it's default grub. And then from here, let's take a look at our commands. And this, where's my arrow keys? Nope. 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 This is gonna be interesting. Ah, there we go. All right. It's like, where's my arrows? Moving over. Usually there's something in here for Windows. Here's the theme. We're not gonna use a theme first, starting off. We wanna make sure that everything's good. Disable sub menu. Probably don't need a sub menu. Blockchain, thanks for the super chat there. Is using yay pulling from the AUR? I heard arch noobs say stay away from the AUR for security reasons. Is that true? Yes and no. It can pull from the AUR, and certain packages in the AUR are not vetted. So yes, it could be a security concern. That's part's true. Is it probably overblown? Yeah, probably. I haven't run into any bad packages from the AUR, but I always say you probably want to stick to the more mainline, what's in the repositories or what you can install with Pacman. But a good thing to note here is using yay can install Pacman packages from the repository. So using yay does not mean you're always using the AUR. It just is a shortcut command to Pacman, really, is how I treat it. So very important to know. In here, we should have OS probe to grab. Somewhere we have it blocking our probe, which is not what we want. All right, well, let's quit out of that. Let's move over to here. There's one thing in here we need to take a look. If we look for, what is it? OS prober. Maybe it's OS dash prober. Here you go. We need this command right there. And we'll just, I'm gonna have to keep looking at the keys. It's so weird. Uh-oh. What did I do? Oh, that's another hotkey I set on my, I think it was this one. Does this get me back to TTY? Or does this one get me okay. Yeah, I have different hotkeys for Control Alt F1 and Control Alt F2. I accidentally hit one. Oh, that's funny. Inner keys up there. Probably should not have done this on a live stream, but so be it. And we're gonna just go O and Control V, put that in. And now we should be able to do make config again. Something like that. OS prober will be executed to detect other boot partitions. Its output will be detectable. Adding boot partition for UEFI firmware settings. So I don't know if it picked up Windows. Let's take a peek. Thanks, GFOI. I'll check out the message on Twitter. Sometimes it takes me a couple days to make my way around to Twitter. I'm not on there too much. Let's move up to another good program as well. If you want, instead of just hanging out in command line like we're doing, let's grab, I think it's Yay Customizer or Grub Customizer, I should say. Where's the U key? Grub Customizer. Customizer. Oh, no, it's installed. All right, we're good. So if we just do an Alt Enter, nope. There it is. And come down to Grub Customizer. Let's enter it. I'm kind of getting the hang of this split keyboard. I think I'm liking the split. You know? It's not bad. What's going on here? Oh, I might not be in the wheel group. Let's check out our groups. Groups. Oh, no, I'm in the wheel group. Oh, well, let's just run it from command line. One more bug to squash, I suppose. And this kind of like just gives you a visual representation of what we've done. I still don't see Windows in here, which is problematic. Well, we'll tackle that. We do need to disable systemd boot now that we have grub installed. Let's do a first initial run, make sure grub pops up. So let's go disable systemd boot. You know what? That should probably be over here, right? Let's check Stack Exchange. That's always a dicey thing when it comes to Stack Exchange. Be careful when grabbing from Stack Exchange. Some stuff's like really old. Like this is 5 years old. Boot CTL remove should get us there. So let's come back to our, and we're just gonna do boot CTL remove. And now we should be able to do a reboot. And this should show us grub now. So we've switched from systemd boot to grub as our bootloader. And we should have just a basic grub to work with. Blockchain. I'm in the IT field and I use your debloat script daily. Love it. Thanks for all the premium content. Awesome, man. Well, check out Friday. I am going to be revisiting the debloat script and we're going to be adding more stuff to it. specifically, I'm going to make another section for those that are working constantly with the inner workings of Windows, whether that's like pulling up control panel or system DM, which is the old version of system, NCPA for regular old network control panels, all those things. We're going to kind of tackle that as well. You need to mount the Windows ESP first. Thank you, Harry. I'll have to look into that. I think we fixed that in a separate stream. I think the last stream when we just destroyed it. So I'll definitely take a check at that. Yeah, I'm actually, Titus, Awesome Window Manager. I'm actually about to make a branch specifically in Arch Titus to do Awesome Window Manager as well. Mainly for that branch, I want to do it because I wanted to make the lightest weight system. A lot of people will say, oh, that's Arch Titus is too bloated. And to that, I'll say, let's make it as light as it possibly can be. All right, we do have grub. And Awesome Windows Manager from Titus, that desktop environment with it's not really a desktop environment, but that Windows Manager, we could totally make it so lightweight that it'd blow people's minds. And I like blowing people's minds. That's just fun. Oh, thanks so much for the donation there, Quinn. I'm glad, man. I'm really pumped about Arch Titus. I've been spending a ton of time on it. I know that means I'm going to be making a lot less YouTube videos, but I don't care. I'm going to work on that, kind of making different branches of Arch Titus to do different things, and then also doing the debloat script for Windows. I don't want to forget about my Windows viewers, and kind of expanding that out. For Friday's stream, I'm going to do all Windows debloat. Tutorial to run Android on Windows 11, bro. It's janky. I'm on the dev spin of Windows 11, and it is, there's some jank to that. It's using like the Amazon Firestore, and it's, I mean, it's not good. If you're an Android developer, just use Chrome OS. Chrome OS is better in every stretch of the imagination compared to Windows 11's App Store. Sorry, that made my brain hurt. just because I hate the Android edition. Hopefully it gets unlocked and some people in the open source community come to our rescue. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is theme out this bootloader and also fix that dual boot on Windows. And I believe someone said I need to mount the Windows ESP partition. And you know what? I don't think I've ever done that. I think it's just found it. OS Prober usually just finds my Windows partition. Let's go mount ESP Windows partition Linux. What does this look like? We should do, actually, instead of looking at it this way, let's take a peek at, if you ever run into like UEFI, oh man, what is going on here? I still got something janky with this install. I need to take a look at it, but whatever. Come back to it here in a second. EFI boot manager, or EFI boot MGR, I should say. This usually tells you all the different boot options, and you can actually change what drive and things your system's booting through using EFI boot manager. Or sometimes you have like an old stuck EFI entry. You can actually use EFI boot manager. If we do like a -- help, still learning that. I'm getting it. You can already see the improvement with the split to keyboard. And you can actually do ~O to delete the boot order. You can change the bootloader with a lowercase o and explicitly set it. You could also do a lot of different things with this great tool. So if you're using EFI, which I recommend always using EFI, I've pretty much dumped Legacy altogether. Yeah, there's a couple of things for those people asking about Arch Titus in chat. I will say there is an issue with like low end systems that only have maybe a couple processors or only allocate less than like 8 gigs of memory. A lot of times it'll bomb out during the compile of Lightly. And I've actually done a commit on the test branch, and I just need to make a new VM that's underpowered to test that out, because I know a lot of people are mentioning that. Why not just add grub disable OS prober false to your grub manually? Bobby, we actually already added that into the configuration file. And that then you do a make config and then it's fine. But for whatever reason, it did not detect my Windows boot for some odd reason. All right. Yeah, the latest update will use swap files under 8 gigs, by the way. Camlink does work on Linux. I've used it quite a bit. Not too much this time. I'm back on Windows on my Streambox. It's probably why the stream keeps dropping. Although, I can't really blame Windows on that. I think it's that network card I got. We'll see. It's been going all right so far. I've just jinxed myself, though. All right. Let's move on past this. Let's do a git clone. And we're going to clone github.com Chris Titus. What? Like, I think it was like top 5 bootloaders, was it? Can't remember the project. I think it was top 5 bootloaders. Nope, that was not the project name. Yeah, let's just take a peek. Just pull up old GitHub. I actually got on GitHub trending for the Arch Titus project, surprisingly. Let's go repositories. And this was about, I think it was like last, bootloader themes. Jeez, could I have made a longer project name? Rookie mistake. Let's go up. And theme, bootloader themes. There we go. Top 5. And then if we look, I think we can just do a sudo install. And then we just kind of pick our theme. This is something I wrote a while back, but it should just, once grub's functional, it should just fix it. My favorite theme is CyberRE. I use that all the time. And this is just going to do a basic theme. But I want us to make our own theme. That's the whole scenario for today's stream. So let's do a reboot and see if we have the new bootloader. All right, let's see. I gotta kick some people out of chat because of spam, XF spam. Don't spam the channel. What else we got? Yeah, it shouldn't take this long. Usually it's instantaneous, so I probably got some other things going on. We could probably just reinstall everything. Give it a go. I can't remember the last time I reloaded this partition on here. I don't think it was too long ago, though. Do I use something like Proxmox or ESXi? Yeah, I usually use XCP-ng as my favorite go-to for like a bare metal hypervisor. Proxmox is really good though. I dig Proxmox. All right. So here's our new bootloader, all nice and themed. That's good. We can boot in. As far as Brave or rewards, I always leave them disabled. I know a lot of people end up tipping me with Brave rewards, but I usually just disable all my Brave rewards, so I don't get served Brave ads. All right, so now let's take a look at how grub themes work. We've installed grub, we've done the theme. Now let's take a peek at how grub actually functions. And let's do that. Oh. Is that Oregon? What's going on? Oh, there's some jankiness going on with this. So what I recommend, if you ever run into KDE and you're running into problems, I actually recommend just deleting the entire... Oh, I see what's happening. I bet you it's restoring like a session. Session restoring on startup shutdown is hot garbage in KDE. Let's see. Desktop session. There it is. Turn off computer. Start with empty session. No, that's all set right. Well, what we can do is I'll probably actually install a new user and delete this user and move over, because the wallet service starting up and some other things just kind of doesn't feel right. Everything should be a lot snappier than it is. So something's amiss. And if you're wondering, like, hey, how do I tell what's going on with your system? A good example is just to launch into here, and let's go up. And probably doing like a sudo. So if you're in a thing and you're like, hey, how do you determine what is what? Journal XE is a great troubleshooting tool. And you can kind of flip through, look for anything red. Usually red is really bad. So right there, you got one red. You got a timeout for the Blues service, which I don't even use Bluetooth on this machine. So we can actually get rid of the Blues service. And what you want to do is look for anything red. So you already saw one. Let's remember that Blues is in here. We're going to get a little troubleshooting in between our checking for problems in the system. And let's see. Huh. There's not really that much red going on here. I'm just kind of looking through. Ah, nope. Where is my page key? I think is that it? Ah, there it is. Trying to find my page up and down key on this keyboard. Still freaky. Oh, where else was this? We got a PAM error. That's not good. Any kind of PAM error is an authentication issue. Any other red in here that we're seeing? Just kind of flipping through, seeing if we have anything in the Blues. All right, so let's fix that. Let's just do a system CTL status Blues. This is dead. It's loaded. Let's just go ahead. System CTL disable Bluetooth. All right, remove those two things. That'll alleviate that one error. I didn't really see anything else though. Oh well. I'm sure there's something else. And janky user stuff. If you're having like weird errors, like apps aren't launching, or you're getting authentication like PAM based errors, I usually just blow out the user altogether. So a good example of that, let's just launch into this. And you know what we're gonna do? Let's just log out. And I think we have this we can go into TTY. And I think I have root login turned off by default. If I'm smart, I do. Yeah. There we go. Let's do user 1 2 3 4, and we're gonna do user add. We'll create the directory with a -m, groups, wheel, and we usually would put the user to do, which would be, let's just make user Titus. And now if we do an ls of home, you should see Titus there. And what we can do now, let's just see what groups are mine on here. libvirt, wheel, user. Okay, that's fine. So now we can exit, come back into here, switch to a different user, try out our new user, and set everything back up. Just to see, sometimes you have this error. Oh, one other thing you forget to do, or at least I forgot to do on this one, is set a password. So we'll need to specify a password for our user. All right, there we go. So now we should have all that set. Let's come back into our, yeah, there we go. And we'll just delete that other user and set everything manually. So now you get to see theming from scratch in KDE, which is actually very, very simple. We'll go dark theme. Usually I like to start with virtual desktops. I usually add 4 of them. Screen locking, I'm not a big fan. If someone gets access to my studio here, I have bigger things to worry about if they, whether or not they can log into my computer or not. Let's switch to Nordic theme. That changes that around. And I like lightly for the Windows style, plasma style, Nordic's fine. Colors, we might switch this around. Nah, probably Nordic darker. Yeah, that's a little better. Decorations, I always like the oxygen theme with like the little glow behind it, although that's a little bit dated now. And usually like a papyrus dark for the icon theme. So this is just kind of switches things up, and our customization's pretty much done. We can change around our start screen. I like the Nordic. That's a good little start screen. This is what you see when it loads up, but you can also create your own too. And last thing probably is our login, startup, shutdown. What are we using here? I think it's Nordic. Yeah, it's already on Nordic. So let's just give this a little reboot, and I'm gonna configure the pager real quick. Or actually, usually there's a you can actually take them vertical. I like that a little bit better. Right here where it says rows. Usually, let's add a couple more. Go 4. Boom. Stack them up. A little bit better for virtual desktop management. Okay. And probably change the wallpaper real quick. Just to show a full theme of how I would personally theme KDE. Azim, yeah, there. I like nature. Let's toss that in there. And apply. All right, so that's kind of like how it would be themed. And now we have a really nice theme and nice desktop icons. And now we should be able to delete user as well. So let's launch our Kitty terminal. What is that? Yeah, there it is. Need to set all this up. Oh, I need to grab my config file for Kitty as well. And let's copy home user.config Kitty. Yeah, it's probably not going to allow me to read that user folder. That's just fine. All right, just making sure I have access to the sudo command. So now I should be able to go user, home, user, config. Yeah, I mean, if you installed Arch Titus, you could do this yourself. I was just running into some weird little bugs with KDE, and usually when that happens, I usually just blow out my existing user and just grab what I need. But to each his own. And we're gonna just grab Kitty. I think that's what I have for that, and we're just gonna put that over into the .config here. And we do need to do recursive. cd.config. And Kitty looks to be good. So if we just quit out of this, I need to set my other things I usually do is global shortcuts. And we usually add where is it? Yeah, there it is, Kitty. And usually I'll add a Windows Q. Yes. And usually to quit or close a window, I have to change this. Alt F4 is just such a terrible hotkey. Alt Q or not Alt Q, but Meta key Q or Windows Q is so much better. So let's go that. Does that work? All right. Error. Oh, let's discover. All right, much better. So that gives us a themed out terminal. So we have the bootloader. Let's go back to our bootloader now and check out the theming. All right, I'm going to check up with chat here. I didn't add it to sudoers. You can actually add it to the wheel group. A lot of times the wheel group has access. If you're concerned about your sudo or your super user privileges, vsudo is a good, or sudo vsudo if you're not root. This should be able to get there. No editor. If you ever get that error, let's just make the editor vim. I think you can just type vim actually. I don't think you need to go crazy here. And then just do sudo vsudo. Really? We'll just install v, whatever. Vsudo I think always just does sudoers. So this is the sudoers file. The reason why I like to use vsudo is it actually has error checks when you go to save. I could open this up in Vim or any editor of my choice, but it doesn't have any error checks. So if I mess up something, there's a good chance I'll just lose access to everything, or I give access to everybody. I mean, you could do some really damage here if you don't pay attention. But anyways, getting back to your original question, right here, you can see what group it is. I think on Debian-based systems, it's sudoers group, but you can see anybody in the wheel group has this, and it is able to execute any command, but it still will request authentication. Down here on this line, you see same thing without password. This allows you to do sudo, and it'll never prompt for a password. So if you want to be more insecure, and you're like, oh, the security, it's such a drag, it's kind of dragging me down, you can actually just comment this top one, and then the one I have selected now, you could just kill that, and you're good. I don't recommend doing that, though. Should be noted, I do recommend how the configuration is done here, as this would be more proper. But again, anything's possible. And if you don't even like logins, you could actually strip out the login service from Linux if you like. You don't even need a login manager, so to speak. Let's see here. Anything else from chat? I don't see. I think we're good. Oh, editor Nano. I guess Nano works. I'm not a big fan of Nano. I've gone converted to V all the way around. V and Vim. I'm all about it. I love them. And I think that we're going to give it one more reboot after this change. I'm just curious to see if that fixed our problem that we were having. And if we look, we can do like a sudo, I think it's user del in Arch, isn't it? I think we can just do user. Users in progress, process. I think we can just do a pkill 595. This is probably not the way to do it. Probably don't do it this way. No. Let's just reboot. It'll be fine. It's probably got some process running in the background that I forgot about. But let's delete that user on startup. Although it's sticking right here. I think it's probably this. It might be something independent of my system too. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, you can ask about that. EXW, he asked, here, I'll go to chat real fast. Catch up with you guys. Let's see. Is it okay to ask about the memory issue? Yeah, that's typically from make flags during the compile process. If it gets stuck compiling lightly, or you start to get like halfway through lightly on the compile and it just sticks, typically that means you allocated less than 8 gigs of memory, and that was my bad. I didn't foresee people using less than 8 gigs. Shoulda, but I didn't. And that's probably what's causing that. I will submit a fix for that. And the fix is to kind of take make flags down from your processing count. I mean, it's going to compile slower, but it's not going to overload the system and run out of memory. I usually would change the make flags to like J2 to only use 2 cores. And that should fix that issue. I think if you do the test branch, I've already committed that. I just haven't tested it. Hence it being on the test branch. Good question though. Good question. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, you forked the project for GNOME. That's awesome. Yeah, Optimus Manager, man, how it handles that's a little funky. On my laptop, I use Optimus, which is, if you're not familiar with Optimus, it's not the transformer. That's when you have an NVIDIA card and then like a built-in thing as well. So for me, I think Kubuntu right now, I have a Kubuntu Focus that has all that, and they've done a lot of optimization specifically around the Optimus driver, which is nice. So you can actually disable it completely and just run your system on the internal graphics. And then if you're going to game, you can turn them on, which is nice. No, micro. I don't like either, but micro's cool. I mean, Nano is okay. I would say Nano is like what everyone starts on because I would say Nano is probably some of the most user intuitive thing. But Micro, I mean, I need to load that up. It's been forever. I don't even remember how Micro looked. As I usually just use V or Vim, which is fun. That's awesome. Yeah, resub doesn't work, by the way. If you ever have a stick, your system sticks a bunch, you probably would want to resub, which is actually using the System RQ key, which I don't even have on any of my keyboards. I don't even have the SysRQ key. It's like they stopped putting it on many things. And by default, most Linux setups don't have SysRQ enabled to do a resub. I think servers still do have all that, though. I can't remember the last time. For resubs, usually you might see it a little bit in the server realm. So I get asked this a lot. Custom Windows ISO. I will never distribute a Windows ISO just because I'm scared to death of Microsoft lawyers. So I thought of a bunch of different ways of doing that, but at the end of the day, it's just too risky to ever distribute a custom Windows ISO. So yeah, I can't. I can tell you guys how to make it, but I can never actually make one and distribute it. It's against their EULA, and they do prosecute people that do that. So kind of important. Yeah, Vim is hard, though. This is so true. When you get more advanced. And you run into this a lot in Linux realm, where people will just go, hey, this is the best thing. And Vim is amazing for the advanced user. But, man, it's confusing as hell to a beginner. And there's always that meme, how do you exit Vim? And that's just like the very, very, very beginning. That's like the first thing you learn is how to exit Vim. And this is just like a point of contention with me, where I'm like, hey, everyone else, I install Nano on almost anything I do with my scripts just because I know other people use it, even though I practically ever use Nano or Micro. But yeah, it's just brutal. It's brutal starting off, but once you are ready to tackle it and you're in that good headspace, check out Vim Tutor, and it's just it's a great learning experience. It's how I learned it, and I'm still learning it. There's a lot of times where I'm like, oh, I remember I could do this in Vim. How did I do that through the tutorial? And then you do it more and more, and pretty soon it becomes second nature. But it's so great. Yeah, so I don't want to just blanket limit everybody to 4 cores. Like, I have a powerful system. I want this thing to compile as fast as possible. I'm not just going to say, hey, sorry guys, I don't feel like making an if statement. I would much rather figure out exactly how many cores you have, how much memory you have, can you compile with more cores, and then if the answer is yes to all that, throw all the resources at it to make it faster. Is why slow down a user just to make more compatibility? I'm against that. So I think the commit I made for specifically making things faster on there with the J tag, I think I'm going to actually do J2 for the really low end systems. And most people will have more than 8 gigs of memory. Most people will have more than 4 cores, and it'll just fly through them. But for those that don't, you got to wait till I make that commit happen. What do we got? Total cost of your setup. Not much. I think I started and I just slowly like reinvested the stuff I got. So I started with a Logitech C920 and a headset, which I already had both. So my startup cost was nothing. And then I think before I even made any money, I switched out and paid $100 for a Blue Yeti, which, by the way, don't do that. There's like Samsung dynamic microphones that would be so much better for voiceover work and tutorial-based videos. So don't ever do that. Blue Yetis are trash. Sorry, not sorry. They're condenser microphones. What people use them for communicating with folks and voiceover YouTube videos and that, Blue Yetis are trash. They're just utter garbage compared to what you could get with like a nice dynamic microphone that you can put on like a little scissor arm for less than what you'd pay for a Blue Yeti, and it would sound 4 or 5 times better than a Blue Yeti. Because most people said like their Blue Yeti is like an arm length apart, and it's just, they're garbage. I can't. I'm not a big fan. But thanks for the question. Oh, let's see here. Do you think there will ever be a new OS for consumers like Windows or Mac? Probably not. I don't really see it. Linux is probably going to be the closest thing anybody's going to get to that. Do you recommend Dell PowerEdge R720s for a home server? Man, that'd be super loud. I don't know where you'd put an R20 or 720. Those usually have some crazy fans in them. If you're married, your wife would murder you. I am like dead serious on that. So be careful with that. But yeah, it's good. I mean, if you could stick it in like your garage or something and, you know, have some type of conditioned space for it that can deal with the noise that it would produce. Yeah, 720s are great. Love. I honestly like the Dell servers. I've never had an issue with my Dells. HP's on the other hand, different story. So I'm not a fan of HP Pro Lion servers. Any plans on streaming on Twitch? Usually I reserve that for like gameplay and stuff. And lately I've been kind of just streaming everything to YouTube. And I was like, I'm just going to make a YouTube channel for everything. And then just stream to that YouTube channel. So if I'm in a game, I'll do that. The reason being is I feel like I'm wasting my time on Twitch. I feel like it's going to be a dead platform in like 5 to 10 years. No, everyone's going to be like, hey, you remember MySpace? I feel like that's going to be what Twitch is going to be in 5 to 10 years. It's run by just terrible people in business. I can't imagine anybody running a business more poorly and more ineptly than Twitch. And then I just don't see it. So that's why I don't do Twitch. However, I will say this about Twitch. It has a fantastic interface and it's so stinking simple. Anyone can stream. And I like its interface and it's how it manages chat much better than YouTube. Managing YouTube chat, you see, like I'm sitting here trying to find all these different things. It's difficult, and that's something that I think YouTube will fix eventually. But I know YouTube's on the upswing where I feel like Twitch is on the downswing. So it's just more of a long-term play for me. Yeah, I have an R420 and it's loud as hell. It's so true. I have a problem with Arch Titus. In the storage select, I use a virtual machine manager. Usually those virtual machine managers will, I think they classify most drives as VDA. So usually you just do dev/VDA and then it'd be fine. What did you do by now? So far on the stream, we've installed ripped out systemd, we've installed grub, and then we put a theme on it, and now we need to actually just kind of look at changing that theme and making it better. And actually making our own theme. I'll probably take this blue background like we have right here. I'll take a screen snippet of that, and then probably overlay some options on it, and then you know, we could put branding on it if we wanted, but probably leave off the branding. I don't really care. How many gigabytes in total size of Arch Titus with everything is unzipped? It's about, I would say about 10 gigs with everything loaded down. But that's like Steam, 32-bit libraries, Lutris, all the packages that I use on a daily basis. So that's why it's so much. Is there an app or program that you could monitor your computer process in detail? Ooh, remotely probably? I really like, and this is, I don't think I've ever seen a YouTube video about this. Maybe I'll do it like on a second channel or something. But there's a cool little program called Nagios, or you could use, I think iChinga, I think is the other one. It's like a fork of Nagios, and they've kind of made it a little bit better looking. But I remember using that, and you could do a lot of really cool things with Nagios and iChinga, I think it is. But this is one way to do it, to where you could monitor it. When I was doing a lot of data center work, and I had to monitor like 30 different servers, usually I'd have like a dashboard like that set up. A lot of people would use a really expensive product like SolarWinds, and those are great and all, but they're crazy expensive. Like, I think they're like 100K, or I want to say it was like 100K a year in licensing fees and usage fees and crap. And I was like, forget that, I'll just build something myself. And I found Nagios, and I ended up using it, and it was great. It was a pain to set up, but once it got set up, it was rock solid. Loved it. So that's what I would use for monitoring. If you're looking on the actual system itself, HTOP, BTOP, oh man, BashTop, you could use, I even made a video, Stacer, if you want more of like a graphic detail. There's tons of system monitor tools. I mean, sky's the limit on that one. But great question. The answer is there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. Augustus, thanks so much for the super chat. Would a Raspberry Pi or cheap used office computer be better for a starter home lab? I would say a cheap office computer. Raspberry Pis are okay, but usually you're stuck on like Raspbian, and it's an ARM architecture, so it doesn't really translate too well to the real world. And yeah, that's kind of what I think of that. You know what? I'm thinking this should probably be more down, like right in there. Looks good. What are your impressions of running Alpine Linux on a server? I don't know. I mean, Alpine Linux is it's another Debian fork, so I'm kind of like, I like glance at it and I'm just like, more of the same. Hopefully none of the Alpine Linux people watch this. Updated debloat for Windows 10. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that for Friday's stream. We're going to just dedicate all of Friday to doing specifically debloating of Windows 10 and 11. The big thing is services. I haven't even really touched it with the debloat script, and we can do a lot. We can do a whole lot with that. So that's why. But we will be doing that soon. Any good digital well-being software? Well, that's interesting. I like the question, and the answer I have for you is I don't know. But I would say I personally think that having like a standing desk, that's what I'm using right now, helps a lot. I find myself sitting too much, and that's very bad. I'm trying this right here, which is like a split keyboard. And it's interesting. I like it, but I know it's not for everybody. And some other stuff. I'm always trying new stuff, make being on the computer a little healthier. But really, yeah, the answer to the question is I don't know. I don't really have that. Let's see here. Why PC is cheaper in the US than country, and why does it cost so much for a good PC? Politics and customs are usually what it boils down to. And that's a little bit difficult. I don't think it'll always be like that, though. It's just right now, this is where Silicon Valley and most of the actual development comes from. So how most things are structured is everything is completed once it gets here, and then it's shipped out to other places. But that's not always the case. I know like China sometimes sees something and then is able to copy it and distribute it in places in China for much cheaper than what you'd see in the US, but not always. It just depends on what the product is. But it's a difficult question to answer. Mac this work. Thanks for joining the membership, man. SolarWinds. If anybody's wondering about the LOL on that, oh man, yeah, they had a massive hack where they lost so much. So I bet you my old company, if they're still using my Nagios dashboard setup, they're probably like, dang, not only did Titus save us like $1 million in licensing fees, but he actually helped make sure that everything was insulated, because SolarWinds required most external communications, where everything I set up with Nagios was in the actual environment, which is just less things to attack, which is great. And obviously in this case, it worked out. Let's see. Anything else we got? Options. Options to choose swap or not for the Archfight script. The latest fork, if you are under 8 gigs, it doesn't give you the option, but it will make the swap file. Anything 8 gigs and over, it doesn't. But I'll add an option. I think it's good. What games do I don't really play games specifically on this channel, because anybody that subscribes to me over here really wants to learn about tech and technology. And occasionally at the end of the stream, I'll do like chess matches and do a couple chess matches. I know the last stream we had a 2200 in chat, which if you're not familiar with chess elo, 2200 is really good. And yeah, he beat me. Spoiler. But yeah, I usually don't play games on stream. Make a tutorial on fan control. So there's a thing I want to approach this in not in a better tone than how my knee-jerk reaction to this is. I absolutely hate utilities that control fans and RGB and a lot of hardware with a dire passion. And the reason for that being is I think they're just, I know they're unnecessary. So unnecessary because all that can be configured in BIOS. Do you really ever need to go in and change from a blue LED to a red LED on the fly? Yeah, I get you could be listening to some music and you want it like flashing and stuff. But at the end of the day, it just adds more bloat to the system for almost no value in my eyes. So setting fan curves, yes. Setting fan curves in BIOS, yes. Installing fan control software and stuff, I'm just kind of like, meh. I'm kind of out. I just don't like it. Charles, what did you use for bulk custom ISO deployments? Fog. Fog machine is amazing. Totally free, open source. Fog's fantastic. So if you've never used Fog, Charles, definitely check that out. It's awesome. It takes a little bit to set up, but man, I had it set up to where I put it on its own network in like a TFTP deployment. So all you needed to do is just take a new computer. It would have like a Pixie set up on it, and you just plug it right into the Ethernet jack, and as soon as you hit power, it would detect the computer and just start loading the images. So if you had 10 computers to load up, you just take all 10 of them. You might have to change like one BIOS setting, and then bam, it would just go. Oh, Alex. Thanks so much for the super chat, man. Swap isn't no cow as of now. Sorry for keep bugging you. It doesn't work on BetterFS. Needs chatter plus C. Oh, I'll have to take a look at that chatter. Yeah, I think right now. Yeah. Okay. I'll add that for sure, Alex. I know I've done a submit to the test branch. I don't know if you looked at that, but I think you're right. I think it isn't no cow. So I'll take a look, but I'll get that fixed, and I'll add the option for everyone to check that out. This is actually part of the stream. It's a bootloader issue, actually. Yeah, you're using BIOS firmware, and it doesn't support BIOS firmware. You have to use UEFI. So that's why that's not booting. However, we will look at reworking Arch Titus to use grub instead. Can I debloat on a working OS? Don't need to delete needed programs? Yeah, you shouldn't need to. Debloat usually just means services and things that kind of sit in there. It shouldn't affect any needed programs, with some caveats. The biggest caveat being things that are stuck in the Windows Store. So that should help you out there, IHAS. Yeah, using a swap file with mechanical HD, that'd be brutal. Oh, yeah, I highly recommend no swap in that scenario. That would lead to all kinds of performance dips. Do you know how to set up web browser in OBS on Arch Titus? Yeah, I've done it, but a lot of my hardware just simply does not work all that well. And a lot of it's Elgato based, and most of the cam link does work, the external cam links, but the actual hardware doesn't. A lot of it needs special stuff, and I used like Magewell for a little bit, and that worked okay, but lately I've just been like, forget it. So, oh well. So be it. Oh, let's see here. Do you think how I can upgrade my system to Windows 11 without the stupid green screen and everything go back to normal? I would not. Just don't upgrade to Windows 11 yet. Wait, Eric, I would wait a good month or two. There's still things in it that they're kind of hashing out and ironing out. And really, it'd probably be 6 months before I'd even say, yeah, okay, Windows 10 users can now upgrade. Now, a lot of people would disagree with that, but I've been in IT too long, and I've seen too much with new OSs that you just want to wait. It's just way better to wait. So, good question, though. Awesome. Well, appreciate the super chat, man. I will be doing an update and adding more utility to it, and also a services cleanup that should clean up about 50 to 60 processes once we're finished. And we'll try that on Friday's live stream. Thoughts on GNOME 40? Do you know of any way to install GNOME 3 instead of 40 on Arch? I hate GNOME 40. You should be able to. You should be able to select a back package. I want to say I even made a video about this. It's a good question. Let's see. Go to desktop so you're not staring at my ugly little mug. I think there was a little bit of and I want to say that was all right. Not logged in here, but let's go Chris Titus Tech. It's always interesting to see when you're logged out on a new system what they give you. But I believe I did something. Let's just do Arch in the search. Arch maintenance. I highly recommend that if you're running Arch. Learn about that. That was using ArchFi. There was something. Here it is. Downgrade packages. What was I using? I think it was just downgrade, wasn't it? Oh, that's back when I had sponsors. Yeah, downgrade. That was the package I was using. I'm the worst YouTube viewer. If I was a YouTube, I would be so mad at viewers like me. I'm like, I know, I remember seeing this in the video, and I just click. I spend like 5 seconds in the video, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I need. So you can do downgrade. And I want to say this right here, this is AUR, but I think you can do like downgrade -- help. And what was it? I think we could go downgrade gnome. Sudo, let's just go sudo su. Downgrade gnome. I think it actually needs an install. Let's see, gnome. Is it desktop? What's the full? Yeah, here we go. So then you get this, and let's say you wanted the last 3, so you'd probably want 23 gnome desktop. Say yes, and and then you would want to add gnome desktop to ignore packages, which I forgot to do here, but we can fix that real fast. Comp, and I think ignore. And let's just go to the end of that line and then just put gnome desktop. And let's get that. So now let's just make sure that should get everything. What's it want to upgrade? Is that just KDE stuff? Yeah. So we could upgrade that. So it installed GNOME 3. You didn't need to do 40. And then we held that package so we can continually updating our system. And then it shouldn't break. Great question, though. That's a fun one. I love, like I said, anything that you can think up, you can do. It's just whether you can remember it or not. Now, searching AUR. Oh, that's just Zoom. We'll just exclude that. So let's just exit and exit. Now the scene. Oh, I wonder. We'll see if GNOME works. I don't think I have like GNOME keyring and some other stuff installed, and I probably don't have like GDM. But you get the idea. That's how you would install like GNOME 3 and then stick it to it, is just by doing downgrade command and then ignore package. Great question. Let's see here. Have you ever used Gentoo? I installed it on a live stream once just because everyone was always like, install Gentoo. It's fine. Like I said, it could be really good because you get to customize the kernel as you compile it. And if you're doing like single purpose machines, like a kiosk, Gentoo is fabulous for that. Everyday use? No, you're crazy. You'd have to be, yeah, it takes a very, very special kind of person to run Gentoo on a daily basis. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That's okay, man. It's all about enjoying the computer experience. That's my goal. is to just have people enjoy being on a computer, whatever that looks like. There's nothing more infuriating than computer problems. The difference between Paru and Yay. Both are maintained. Paru is written in Rust, which is considerably better than what Yay is written in, which is Go. Most programmers like Rust a lot better. As far as feature set and that type of things, Paru has a couple things that I find annoying, most people like. And like it forces you to review things installed through the AUR as you're installing them. I find it just annoying. I'm like, just install it. And some other little wonky things. I think Paru beats out Yay a little bit in speed, but it's negligible. I mean, we're talking like milliseconds. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's like splitting hairs. I say use what you're comfortable with. Yes, all these VODs will be in my live streams, which I can actually pull up here on... Yeah, let's just show everybody. It's a lot easier to just show you all. So like, let's just click my name. And then everything right here, I just put them all right here. So you can easily go back through, look whatever one it is. I try to theme each live stream so there's an overarching goal to each one. And then I'm going to do 2 a week. And that's just, you know, more for fun. And it kind of helps me kind of plan out like maybe a future video or have fun with it. And also just kind of talk with y'all. I like that. Probably the best. Seems your system has no key suitable for encryption. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, okay. Don says it's Paru is under more active development. Don is right. Yay is still being developed, but it's not as developed, I guess, as Paru is being developed. I mean, at the end of the day, they both kind of accomplish the same thing. So I'm kind of like, does what I needed to do. I don't care. But it should be noted that Paru does see more commits for sure. Does your debloat script work on Windows 11? Yes, it does work. Windows 11 has a lot more little nuances, so we will be tackling that on Friday. Friday's live stream will be going into that. What do you use to replace Wallpaper Engine on Arch? I usually just install Steam, and it actually kind of ports over all my existing Wallpaper Engine profiles I set up in Windows. So then I just click and go. And so I don't really have a problem with any of it. I have not tried installing preload. I appreciate the question though. I'll have to check it out. What's preload do? Any Linux YouTubers you follow yourself? If so, who? Lots of Linux YouTubers. I kind of Linux Experiment, Linux for Everyone, Jason Evangelo over there. Let's see. I know a lot of people follow DB, but I kind of fall off. I don't have the time to watch his full videos. He's a little more drawn out, so you got to have a little more time to watch him. But still, a lot of educational content from him. Brody Anderson, or is it Brody Anderson? I can't remember. He's got like this weird accent. It's like a mixture between like Aussie and British. I can't quite place him, but Brody, he has some cool little like off the cuff videos. Like Oh God, what was one of his videos? Cat images. I thought was kind of cool. And then he had another one which was kind of interesting too, where it was like a file manager, but it did it with thumbnails, and he was like scrolling into folders. I thought that was kind of weird, but more like entertaining, like from a nerd level. So it just depends on what you like. And there's some really good ones though. I love a lot of the. I'm trying to think of anybody else. I know I missed a lot of people. Jay from gosh, I'm drawing a blank. The Linux, you guys know. Brody Robertson. Brody Robertson, yeah. But the Linux guy, jeez, what is his name? I'm just going to type it into chat here. It's going to drive me crazy. How did I forget Jay? Jay Lacrosse, I think it is. Because I talked to him, and I even collabed with him. Linux channel. Learn Linux TV, yes. Because, let me see. Let's go desktop. Yeah. Learn Linux TV. So the Learn Linux TV is cool. I don't really watch a lot of his stuff, but I like a lot of the more in-depth stuff he does. Him and Lawrence PC Systems, which most people don't think of Lawrence PC Systems. Tom over there as, where is he? Is he in here? Come on. Yeah, there we go. Tom. He has a lot of cool little stuff from all kinds of different things. So he's big into like Ubiquity. He has a lot of XCP and G content. So if you're into virtualization, but I like a lot of his stuffs too. And he like pfSense, Ubiquity, and then XCP and G are probably like some of like the three pillars of a lot of his content. But he goes and does a lot of different stuff too. And he's been doing this for quite a while now, which is neat. But yeah, he does like ZFS, so he even touches TrueNAS a little bit. It's neat. So I really like Tom too. I know there's a lot more people I'd like to give a shout out to, because there's so many places to learn stuff. I would kill to be a 20-year-old in today's world. Man. I could learn so much more stuff so much easier because of all the resources that are available. Oh, back in my day, you had to read books, and a lot of times those books really sucked because they were like 5 years old and weren't even relevant anymore. So a lot of like technical manuals and stuff. You guys know how fast this stuff worked. But in the early 2000s, it was so hard to do it. You had to do like home labs. And the books usually would just kind of get you like surface level knowledge. Enough to where you could kind of get your hands dirty, but a lot of it you had to just kind of work out on your own or watch someone else do it, like in real life. So true. What DE do you love the most? KDE for desktop environments. I love KDE. Oh, Mental Outlaw. Yeah, Mental Outlaw is a great one. More from an entertainment perspective. I like him a lot. He's fun. Hey, Chris, your site is down. Really? I don't know about that. I'm gonna say no, it's not. Oh, application error. What? Let's try. No. What is going on with that? Well, I might have to get on the horn with somebody there. Interesting. Oh, DDoSing your server? Yeah, probably. Oh, well. We'll get that back up. Yeah, it looks like a database went down or something like that. It happens. We'll get it fixed. Do you know the radiation put out by that headset? I have a mental heart valve and need a headset like that? That's a good question. I have no idea. Kind of freaks me out by the question, though. Let's see here. I need to get a better keyboard and mouse for this. All right. Thanks for the super chat, Augustus. Have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with another YouTuber? Who would be your top pick? I mean, I guess you have to choose like Linus or somebody like that for the collab. But I don't know. Kind of antisocial, to be honest with you. As terrible as that is to be. I don't know, man. I'm not a huge collaborator. I should be into that type of thing. But if the opportunity presents itself, I'm all about it. But as far as like blindly reaching out to other people, not so much. Probably someone I will collab with eventually, probably Network Chuck. I know he's been like a career IT and he's local to Dallas-Fort Worth for me. So I would say probably practicality wise, Network Chuck would probably be the one I'll probably collaborate with at some time. But there's other YouTubers that are local to me too, tech YouTubers. I think Sarah Dici is another tech YouTuber that's pretty local. And she's like, I think down the street from me. She's like in just the next city over. But yeah, as far as collaborations, it's kind of like whatever comes. You know, it's not something that I like actively seek out though. It's just if schedules line up or I meet them somewhere, then yeah, let's do it. But otherwise, I'm just kind of like, all right. I'm terrible at that though. Make for a crappy YouTuber in that regard. Failing. I'd love to do one with Mental Outlaw. Yeah, that'd be fun too. Wendell, I think, is in Nashville. But yeah, I'd do one with Wendell as well. Fly to France and go to the Linux experiment route. Yeah, there's a lot of, like I said, it's just whether or not the schedules line up and opportunity presents itself. But yeah, there's nobody that I would be like, nah, I'm not going to do a collab with that person. And I think even DistroTube's like in Louisiana. He's probably like 3 or 4 hours from me. I think he's like in Shreveport. So he's actually probably 2 hours from me. How much drive space you need for Arch Titus install script? I'd say 20 gigs just to have a bunch of breathing room. The actual install itself should only be about 9 to 10 gigs. Oh yeah, 8-Bit Guy is local too. Yeah, you're right. Oh man, I'd love to do a crossover with Anthony from LTT. That would be great. I'd love to nerd out with Anthony. Oh man, Python tutorials. That's great. I don't know jack about Python. I can just like hack around and get Python scripts working, but as far as like coding them, nah. I need to, for sure. Preloads frequently used applications into RAM, such as Brave. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out, Patriots Flow. I remember you mentioned it. It's neat. Are you planning to add more DEs to Arch Titus? Probably, yeah. I'll do like an awesome window manager spin of it because I've done Titus Awesome, I think is the project name now. But it was my awesome window manager, and that would be more of a minimal install. And many people were like, hey, I don't want all these packages. And I bet I could do that install for... I bet I can get it done with maybe 2 gigs of space. So that'll be a good one. Thoughts on the PinePhone Pro? I really hate cell phones. I don't know if many people know that, but it takes a special kind of cell phone to get me going. And I love the idea of the PinePhone, and I need to grab the PinePhone Pro. I just haven't yet, which I don't know why. I just haven't. Thoughts on Brave browser? Every browser sucks. I mean, it's just not fun, guys, a lot of times. Yeah, there's no good browser out there. They all just kind of like meh. Brave's my browser of choice because it's just kind of like it's what I've been using, and that's why. There's no like, hey, everyone should be using. There's no browser that I'm like a champion of. All of them are terrible. It's just, what else are you gonna use? Firefox? Firefox is just as bad, not worse. I just don't like it. So, but I don't like it's not like I'm in love with Brave. I think Brave's like, you gotta like, when you launch Brave, like I immediately strip out like Brave rewards and a lot of other stuff, and then I kind of make it more minimal. And I'm like, okay, it's not bad. And that's kind of like where I'm with Brave. It's not bad. That's my endorsement. You can put that on Brave's website. Chris Titus Tech says, it's not bad. So that's kind of where I'm at. No, I don't have time to make my own browser, nor the knowledge, or the skill set to do such a thing. Yeah, like Google Chrome's terrible. Microsoft Edge is just atrocious. The browser I have the most disdain for is Microsoft Edge, because it's like tightly integrated with Windows 10 or Windows 11 too. So if you like go to make system modifications, it makes those same modifications, and it uses a lot of shared resources with Windows, and there's no reason for it. It's based on Chromium, so there's no reason for all these tightly integrated systems that Microsoft's put in place. So when I like go to debloat a system, the next update I do to my debloat and I publish, the first thing I'm going to say, it's a disclaimer. It says, hey, if you're a Microsoft Edge user, I don't want you ever to use my debloat script, period. If you like Microsoft Edge, go to a different video, because this is just, it's going to cause you nothing but problems. Because anytime you modify anything in Windows, that's going to be a negative impact to you that is using Microsoft Edge because of how integrated they are. And it's just going to lead to heartache and sorrow and just hate mail to me. And I'd just rather those people just not do it. So Microsoft Edge, I absolutely hate. I think it's the worst browser by a large margin, and it's absolutely terrible. So Firefox, Chrome, I mean, probably the second worst browser is Chrome, and then probably like the third for me is Firefox, and then like there's all these little Chromium forks. Brave's in there; it's in the mix. Vivaldi's in there. Vivaldi, Brave, kind of like, they're both okay. Chromium, you know, all those, they're in that hunt, that group. Yeah, like I said, I could go see Derek. Like, he's only a couple hours away. Maybe when I quit my day job. Would you use a Windows phone if it ever came back? All right, so even though I just went on a complete rant about Microsoft Edge, I have a confession. I actually liked the Windows phone. I mean, I know that's terrible to say, but I actually was one of the few that enjoyed my Windows phone when I had it. I mean, I know a lot of people think less of me for saying that, but man, that phone, I enjoyed like the tiles. I enjoyed the performance I got out of it. It wasn't a bad phone. It had no apps, and it was a little weird in instances, but there was a charm to it. They just completely screwed up the licensing because it's Microsoft. How do you like Bing? I hate Bing. Although they do make some very pretty wallpapers. I love the Bing wallpaper. The Windows Spotlight and Bing wallpaper. Whoever's doing that job at Microsoft needs a raise, because that's actually something I actually think is good. Why the hate for Firefox? I mean, I just don't, it didn't suit my needs. It feels foreign to me. I can never really get into the ecosystem of Firefox, and it's just not for me. I've tried a couple times over the years, and every time I go to it, I'm just immediately like, ugh, I don't like it. And there's nothing wrong with Firefox. I'm not like going, they're the worst. I honestly, I tell people to use Firefox just because I like having some kind of competition. But again, I that's why I say use Firefox. Even though I personally don't like it, I say, hey, definitely use it if that's your jam. I mean, we need more users like you in the world, because without users using it, everyone will be beholden to the Google gods. Have you tried Atlas OS? I have not. Let's see here. Anything else from the chat? How about a Tesla phone? Nah. Tesla's... I'm not a big fan of Tesla. Just not. I like that they're there and that they're innovating and producing new stuff, but I don't know. It's just not for me. A little too flashy. But who knows? Like I said, any kind of phone, anything new, as long as they don't just like slap a fork of Android on it, I'd be okay. I'd be okay with it. But I'm not a big fan of Tesla. Yes, I've looked at Qt browser, and that's more like a minimal browser. A lot of times it ends up not having quite the same functions, like all the extensions. And as much as I was like, I don't like this, I really like, I think Midori. Let's install that real quick. Let's go to the desktop. It's a good question, Dawn. Like this browser, let me go to it. 3. What do we got? Give me Midori. This is probably one of my favorite. If I was going to use like an off-brand browser, I like Midori. Let's grab it. And I think they did some upgrades to it recently. Midori browser, I mean, it's not the most sexy thing, for sure. But man, it's pretty darn simple. It's fast. You can do everything. And I don't even think it takes much memory. Like Midori is running. Let's load like YouTube. I think, I can't remember the last time I used it. Did it have problems with YouTube? It's almost like they throw a wrench in anything that's not Chromium based. But then again, I think Midori rebased a lot of their accounts to be this. Now we did that. Let's come over here. And now do an H-top. And let's take a look at Midori. Not too much. Let's go filter by memory, maybe. Let's go F6 and filter by memory. What do we got? Plasma shell. I mean, Midori uses almost no memory. What is that? 100 megs? That's like nothing. Let's quit that. What did I do for that hotkey? I can't even remember my hotkeys. Fail. Was it F10? Yeah, that's it. PS aux, grep Midori. Can we do human readable on that, please? And I think, well, I can't remember how to make the output human readable. I think it's, is it H? I think it's just lowercase h, right? PS Ah, oh well. Looks to be about 100 megs for Midori. But let's just do like PS. Let's just do P kill Midori. And do like Brave browser. And then if we look as a comparison, so this one was about that much. So let's do a PS Ox of Brave. Oh, lordy. Okay, well. Quite a bit more going on here. Let's just sort by memory again. All right. Ah! I'll get used to this keyboard eventually. Oh, man. All right. So memory usage, not too terrible. Look at them processes. Holy crap. It's quite a bit heavier, though. It's funny. But yes, Midori is a good little quick browser. Good question. I think with better FS in snapshotting minus, you can totally get away with that. I love that for a file system for the home user. Love it. But past better FS, I would say ext4 or XFS. Both those are really good. Can't beat that. XFS, I think, is the fastest performer out of everything. ZFS is great for business setups and big RAID arrays. If you're doing like a Z pools, they're great. But, you know, to each his own. No, I hate VMware Workstation. Actually, I hate VMware, period, but they are the market dominator. If you're getting into like virtualization and stuff, you should learn VMware. ESXi, all of that. The VMware product line dominates the space. So learning them if you're into that type of thing. But if you're like a home lab user or you're just setting stuff up and you don't care about virtualization, XCP-NG gets my vote for sure. Ugh. That would be amazing. Larbs. I think I remember Luke doing something on Larbs a long time ago. I didn't really use that. I used a random script as a base called Archmatic. It was written by some guy like 5 years ago, hasn't updated it in forever. And I think it was just like a random GitHub search. And that's kind of like what I started to base it on. And I realized after I got going that I was like, I probably shouldn't have based it on any of that. I should have just done like a separate comp file for all the packages so people could easily change them. And I still need to make those modifications. So it's not really based on anything. It was just kind of tossed together with different components, and then I ended up stripping out most of the things I took from. There's still some remnants in the architecture. If you look between Archmatic and my script, you'll see that how the packages are laid out still uses kind of like that same look, but everything else was written from scratch. But the idea behind Arch Titus was just complete automation of an Arch install. Titus Tech Tips. Linus would probably sue me. That'd be interesting. Oh man, I love it. I just did a graphics card driver update on Windows 10 and my signal resolution set to 4K, and I only got a 1080p monitor and it's causing me not to get 144 hertz. Do you know how to fix? Ooh. Probably set... Man, there's something else going on there. You might check your cabling. If you're using HDMI, you might switch to your DisplayPort. And how old is this monitor? I think all that kind of plays into a fact. It sounds more like a hardware incompatibility. Windows is actually pretty good about finding the proper refresh rates and monitors, but yeah, past going into display settings, or if you're using an NVIDIA card, going into NVIDIA settings, that's weird. It sets it to 4K. I ran into that once before, and that was because I was using HDMI splitter. Eesh, this is a hard one from Thomas. ESXi or Hyper-V? I don't really like either, even though that like makes up probably 99% of virtualization in data centers, those two. Hyper-V is usually left for people with like a bunch of Windows Server licenses laying around, which a lot of people had because Windows servers, most of them got sunset or decommissioned. And you're like, well, I got all these extra licenses. Well, instead of paying VMware $100K, let's just toss these licenses we already got and run Hyper-V. I would say ESXi. Final answer. It's a good one, though. I hate Proxmox. Proxmox is okay for, like, the home lab user. It's Debian-based, and it uses QEMU KVM for virtualization, which is good. But I will say it's more for... I like how you're able to take like the Spice server and having all those really good viewing tools to where you can really work on a bunch of different systems and view them in like 1080p. You don't get that very much with hypervisors. Most hypervisors are like defaulted to like 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768. So that's where Proxmox shines, is more for that home lab user. Would I ever use it in a business? No. I would not. I would use ESXi or VMware, Hyper-V, Zen Server, XCP-ng. All of those are considerably better for business. I use a Xeon. Oh man, yeesh. 2 OSs and in 2 OSs. I want to completely switch out my system. Was thinking I could allocate 2 cores, 4 gigabytes of RAM to a Plex server with a cheap Quadro card. I mean, maybe, as long as you're not gaming too much on that. Xeon processors aren't great. I mean, the problem with Xeon and why I don't recommend them for any kind of home lab, even if you get the hardware free, the darn electricity that they suck is so high that you end up spending a ton of money in electricity cost. I mean, even for me, I only have like maybe 11 cents a kilowatt is what I pay. But even at 11 cents a kilowatt, I'd probably spend $50 to $60 a month with a Xeon server. Now, mind you, if you're just spinning it up and then doing your stuff and then spinning it down, then that's a different story. But most people leave servers on 24/7, and that's expensive. It's expensive, man. That'll add up because regular system running 24/7 is probably around $20 to $30 a month. Even your higher end Ryzen systems that are a little more power hungry with a lot of cores, those will probably run around $30 a month. And I think, I'd have to look at the power draw, but it's really not too bad compared to the Xeons. And I mention all that because if it's an extra $20 or $30 a month over a year's time running 24/7, you're looking at, $240, $300 in electricity costs above and beyond. So a lot of times, like if you get a Xeon server secondhand, just remember, don't run that 24/7. It's just a massive waste of electricity. Thoughts on DuckDuckGo? It's okay. I mean, it's Google alternative. I kind of have the same thoughts about it and Firefox, but I like the fact that both exist as competitors to the mainstream. What Russian tech? I don't know too much Russian technology. However, I don't know if Michael's still in chat, but I do have... What is that? Let me get it. It's crazy. What is it? I have it anywhere. Yeah. Here we go. Check this thing out. Focus. Bam. Soyuz handmade microphones. So a lot of people spend a ton of money on cloud lifters. And these are actually about the same price as a cloud lifter. This is just like the packaging for it. But the Soyuz is actually sounds a lot better, and it's a lot cleaner signal than the cloud lifter, the little blue cloud lifter many people use like on a SM7B. Those things, though, are Russian made, and dude, they're magical. Love them. So there's some Russian technology. I know that's not where your question was directed, but you know. Man, I just punched my microphone and I didn't hear anything. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's coming of age. So, you know, Windows 11 right now is getting better. Obviously, if you're on Windows 11, get to the beta channel at the very least, especially if you're an AMD user. But it's just coming up. Give it 6 months, and it'll probably be on equal footing to Windows 10. And then probably another couple years, and then they'll start phasing out Windows 10. So that's kind of where you'll be at. Eventually, most people will be... check out Chimera OS. It is top-notch. Absolutely love it. Uh-oh. Did the stream die again? Stream died again. Oh, jeez. I tell you. Website's going down. Stream's going down. Sad face. Yeah, I think I'm going to probably swap out my card that I have in there and move back. I have a card, and I'm also going to switch out my Switch. Yeah, I tell you what. Terrible. It's froze. But yes, I was saying Chimera OS is fantastic. If you got a home theater PC, check out Chimera OS. Yeah, whenever it disconnects like that, it pushes everybody down to like 144p. I have a PF Sense up there, and I've kind of gone all over the place with it. I like PF Sense a lot, though. I think they're probably a lot more secure than many other routers out there. But I kind of float around on my routing and it depends on the month. A lot of times I'll switch between like a PF Sense, or if Ubiquity comes out like a Dream Machine or something like that, I might try it. But I kind of go all over the place with my router. Stream in 4K. If you stream in 4K, you do run into some issues, specifically latency issues, because you're pushing a lot more through the pipe. However, I want to say Harris Heller has an amazing setup, and I remember seeing his streams, and he pushes it to 1440p on YouTube, and it's quite good. Thoughts on Brave search engine? I'm not going to use it, probably. Don't care. Give me some dog pile. Alta Vista. Intel or AMD? Sign me up for Team Red. I'm not a big Intel guy. Don't like Intel. Although I hate to admit this, Intel always is just a little more stable compared to AMD. But I just hate them. But yes, that's like the differences. And the reason for that is just Intel. I bought a board, I think it was like 3rd or 4th gen, like an i5. Not a bad chip, not a great chip, but just run of the mill, right? It did what I needed to do. Motherboard died on me about 3 or 4 years later. And I couldn't find a motherboard with that same chipset. So I had to go to a next gen motherboard, or like a 4th gen from the 3rd gen. And Intel has almost no forwards and backwards compatibility with any of their chipsets, and it's just totally meh. And it made me buy a whole new motherboard combo, a whole new CPU, when I had a perfectly good CPU that I didn't want to use, just because of all product availability. Where you don't get that with AMD. AMD always gives you 3, maybe even 4 or 5 generations of motherboards that can, be upgraded. Which, hey, if they give me more than 2 or 3, I'm like super happy. I think it's amazing. So that's why AMD, just because of it's just a little more forwards and backwards compatible compared to Intel. But as far as like performance, I think Intel will catch up. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And honestly, when it comes to like laptops, Intel has always maintained their lead in laptops. I don't think AMD has ever pushed ahead of Intel in the laptop realm. I'm regretting the Team Blue-Green setup now. I switched to Linux. Ooh. Yeah, NVIDIA, that's a rough sell. That's more of a Team Green. Intel plays pretty good with Linux. But I love the full Team Red setup for Linux. No doubt. All right, well, let's get on the desktop again. I do want to finish this up before we end the stream here. Oh, man. Did not plan that out, did I? We still have a machine up? Yeah, there we go. Let's look at our grub theme. I did want to create a grub theme. And if we look, let's go into, we're going to go super user. And let's go into etc defaults. I think we got grub, vim, grub. Let's take a look at this. So right here, we're doing a menu style, time out of 10, and our grub themes are all right there in CyberRE. Let's exit that. Now, let's take a peek from... Oh. My bad. Did I hit something again? Yeah, I did. All right. Let's go here. And I thought I went ahead and did a clone of the bootloaders. Oh, I think that was on the user folder, though. Autoimmune. Appreciate the super chat, man. Oh, did my website ever come back up? I didn't even check. Let's see. So I think it was flashing an error. Brave die on me? Oh, man. Let's try Midori. All right, let's see here. ChrisTitus.com. Let's see. Oh, something went wrong. Yeah, I guess it did go down. Oh, no, there it is. It must be getting DDoSed. Or it just might not like Midori, too. Let's see. Nah, it's back up. Yeah, all right. It just went down for a little bit. Must have had a brief attack. I'll have to take a look at, what is it? Plausible? Let's go plausible. And let's see. Fell offline, I think, a little bit ago. Not too bad. All my analytics and everything's public now, too, by the way. So people can just peruse what is actually done here. But it should be all privacy. No identifiers are left. I do need to make my own plausible server, which I need to do sometime soon. All right, getting back to it. Let's go ahead and do like a git clone. I keep wanting to switch back to my old keyboard. Not gonna. Git clone, and then I don't think I have that anymore. Do bootloader themes. Man, that's a mouthful. All right. Now, let's go into here, themes. So here's all the different themes. I think what we'll do, we might cheese this a bit and do like a transparent background. What's this background look like? So this is what this background looks like. I like that. Let's, what does the cyberpunk look like? And that one's going to just give you a theming right in the middle. I mean, that could be good. So, what we can do... This is a way to cheese it a bit. Kind of to see what kind of outline you want. And then just kind of switch out the backgrounds. Use somebody else's work. Why reinvent the wheel? After all, you got a progress bar, some frames, icons already there. I like, you know, let's take this and modify this theme a little bit. So let's do that. I think network we have and I'm actually gonna do an authentication real fast through this. I don't want to give out that info. I've already DDoSed myself enough. Or doxed myself, sorry. DDoS. No. All right. And I think I actually have, let's, Linux data. Yeah. And right now I'm just copying some like server creds and some other stuff to authenticate so I can work on this system in Linux. Oh, nope, that's not... probably can just go ahead, minimize that. All right, let's go back to desktop. Got most of that done. And we're just gonna vim into fstab, or actually let's do a, here's a cool little command for people. If you're ever working in an fstab, this is something I do a lot. I'll go to like the end of the fstab, and we're in read only. Oops. Let's sudo vim fstab. So go to the end of the file, and then at the end of the file, if you're in Vim, this is why I use Vim a lot, is you can just run a command directly from here and then pull in all the stuff. So I ran a BOKID and just said, hey, retrieve all that data and toss it right in here. So then when I'm remaking things, and let's say I'm back up here, and we'll just delete all this. Oops, my bad, undo that. 3DW. All right, so now we're here. I can change this to like a label, and we're gonna label this one root probably. And I think the other one was labeled UEFI sys was what the other label was. UEFI sys. So let's come down to that. And label equals, and the only reason I'm doing it this way is that way I can just put this UEFI sys right in, and that way anytime I format this or get rid of all the partitions, it's going to identify my partitions by the label instead of the UUID, because the UUID changes when you format or you repartition or you wipe out the partition table. And the labels, I know with my script, I'm always going to label them that. So I never have to worry about changing my fstab. So now I can just do a sudo copy fstab and put that into etc fstab. And let's switch to super user. Go over to the media directory, make the media directory, and media. All right, and now we're just gonna do a mount -a, and before we do that, actually, let's darn it, where's my plus? Let's blow that up a little bit for everybody. Can you? Yeah, I'm breaking grub right now. I'm just pulling in my data. Mount all. Oh, my bad. All right, here's me being dumb. Fstab, right? My bad. Let's come down, and we're just gonna go. Get all that, get rid of that. All right, now all that's good. And now we need to make directory main pool, images, FCP, drive, and data. chown. I think we're under Titus. And then we're just gonna do -r star. And then all that should be Titus now. So that gives us all that. And so now if we run a mount all, we now have access to all the files. And there's all our stuff. Reason why I did that is I want to grab, I think it's from my drive video production. This live stream background is what I wanted. And we're going to pull that into grub. So we have that. Now let's do some fun stuff. I like this kind of little outline they got going on here, and we could probably highlight this, or there's probably a quicker way to highlight this, but for now we're gonna just go old school with it. All right, let's grab this, And we're gonna just pull all this in. Just kind of cut it out. Doesn't have to be perfect, because we're gonna be getting rid of most of this. And we'll feather the edges a bit. Pull it in. And then we'll redesign it a hair. Maybe even do some branding. We'll see. All right. We'll cut that out. Boop. Toss it over here. Perfect. And now we can implement some cool stuff here. And I think we can just do post here. And we're just going to start kind of clearing out some of the background. And come down in, delete. Probably a faster way to do this, but you know, that's not gonna look pretty. Let's back out. Let's think our design a little bit. That could look cool. We could probably do like a filter on that. Let's grab that. Let's make this look a little neat. We could do a distort, like a emboss. What's that look like? Have the prompts in there. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Maybe. It's an idea. Let's add a little shade to it. So now let's grab that whole layer again, alpha the selection. And we're going to go Shift B and new. Okay. Oh, nope. I don't have my plus sign on this new keyboard. It's driving me crazy. I keep flipping back to my old. What I probably would do here, just trace the inside a little bit. Probably a faster way, but like I said, this doesn't have to be great. Because we'll feather it and it'll look pretty passable after we're finished. A little rough around the edges. What do you guys think so far? Kevin, thanks for the super chat. Love the music. Where did you get the music from? It'll be from streambeats.com. Harris Heller made it from the Alpha Gaming channel. And this is the Synthwave playlist. You can either listen to it on Spotify or anywhere else you get music. I think he's everywhere pretty much. So then we got that layer. And then we just kind of something like that. Yeah, a little bit like that. And then let's add a little bit of shade to this. Probably do a deselect. Let's just get rid of most of this. And then from the selection, let's go with a filter. And for this one, oh, I don't have my, oh, darn it. That's okay. We'll just grab a little shadow, give it a little bit of, little drop shadow in there. Make it pop a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Something like that. So this just kind of gives it that flair. Now, let's take a peek at what we need to do with the actual bootloader to theme this out. And I think I'd made a link at the very beginning there. Grub manual. There's certain aspects that when you're making that background image, you can't just cut and paste any image in there. The BIOS is real specific about how you do it. So theme file, fonts, progress bar. We're not going to change too much of that. I really want to kind of just change the background. But format. And I want to say it was like I think it's like a PNG with, I think you can do 16-bit, but you can't just do like full-on 32-bit true color or anything like that. It doesn't say here. The problem with some of the grub manuals is they're just so big from like the GNU portion that there's just so much information, it's hard to find the information you want. Grub background image format. What does it say? Okay, it can be 8-bit, 256K color. Grub 2 can use PNG, JPEG, or TGA. All right, what else do we need? Those are just splash images. What do we got? I'm just seeing anything. I think all it is 8-bit JPEG or PNG. It should be fine. So let's just go ahead, take this, and let's just take that file. This is like our take on the Cyberpunk. I didn't particularly like the Cyberpunk's background, although the theme itself is pretty solid. I really dig it. So this is like a little alternative. So we'll make this one, we'll call this one Grub. Oh, snap. All right, let's just go here. All right, and then let's do an export. And yes, export it as PNG. Will that allow us? So we definitely want, I want to say 8-bit RGB, compression level high. I don't think we really need any of this. And I think we can export that out. Let's see how big that is. Oh man, that's a huge file. 1 meg, but still. Probably doing it as JPEG would probably be choice. But let's come into theme Cyberpunk. What's this? Oh, that's 2 megs. Let's just rename that test, background test. And then we're going to paste this one file. And we're going to call this background.png. And then we're just going to install it again. This is such a hack. But it kind of tells you how you could take other projects, modify them a little bit, and just some things to watch out for. Specifically the background, I don't want to really change the menu options too much because there's a lot of work that goes into a lot of these brushes and how many of these things are made. But let's see what this does. I think that should get us there, but let's see. So this is what the theme used to look like. This is what it's going to look like now for the most part. And let's just discard all that. And we'll launch into terminal. And do top 5. Install. Run me as root. Yes, please. And now let's grab Cyberpunk. I feel like this will be a little more Cyberpunk friendly too. Reboot. Oh, we can just do reboot. It doesn't matter. And I'm actually going to do a force. I don't... Alright. For some odd reason, the system's just not shutting down in like proper time, so I need to troubleshoot that a bit. But first, let's see how this looks. I mean, it's not bad. It's not a terrible theme. The emboss was a little too much. Probably won't publish that. I don't particularly like it. But it kind of gives you an idea of that. I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. I just kind of took whatever people were doing and just kind of tossed it in there. Not too bad. It's cool. But that kind of gives you an idea of how you could take an image like that and make your own theme. Typically what I would do is just look at other themes, boot them up, and then easily grab it, because redoing like all the brushes and the color schemes and doing the menu a different way is difficult. And a lot of people do progress bars as well. Can be challenging, but definitely go through the man page like you saw from the GNU project, because they're the ones that I think that made Grub, and it's pretty darn advanced. That looks bad. I'm an artist. Agreed. I won't publish it. I just wanted to kind of show a proof of concept for folks. I am not an artist. I'm a technician first and foremost. Manjaro provided something that feels right. That's awesome, Patriots Flow. You know, and that's just it. When it comes down to Linux and all that stuff, you got to just feel what's right for you. I mean, hell, I still use Windows for a lot of stuff. A lot of the stream stuff is still Windows based. How do you fix the no IRQ vector or something during boot? I have it too, and it's annoying. Typically, I haven't actually fixed it, obviously. I need to actually troubleshoot. But I'd say probably that's dealing with some boot options. There might be some boot options I could do. Could be something with NVIDIA, some NVIDIA drivers, how I'm actually have them configured. There's a lot of different things that could actually be. So I don't have a good answer for you, but that's a couple hunches I have about it. I use Windows to watch movies only. Why do you use Windows to watch movies? I don't think I've ever had a problem watching movies. I think NVIDIA cards had some screen tearing that I had to troubleshoot once, and it was super annoying when watching like YouTube or movies. But I think I fixed all that. So I don't know why you'd use Windows for movies per se. Maybe something with DRM, but you can use celluloid with a Wildvine plugin. So I think you could do it. You could do all that in Linux. What theme are you using for KDE Plasma? Nordic. Most of my stuff's based around Nordic. For some of the window decorations, I use the Lightly plugin. How do you get that cool background you have right now? Oh, I think I got like off a Nerd or Die or something. I took like. Again, not an artist, so don't ever think any of this is created by me. All I do is take other people's artwork, buy it, and then just say, hey, as long as I have free realm to just kind of mess around with it, I strip out a lot of components, because a lot of like stream themes and stuff are like way overdone. It's like top donator and all these different buckets. Like that is pretty much all I do. And it just shows like the last 3 events. If there was a member or a super chat, it shows it there. And then when I'm on my desktop, I only put the last event. And then at the stream end, I like to list all the events that happened during the stream. And I think it's just a little cleaner. So I grabbed those themes from like Nerd or Die has a bunch. There's a couple other that you can buy stream themes. And then when you get them, strip out all the crap you don't like and just try and make it more minimal and just find an aesthetic that fits you. That's basically all I did. So props to whoever the artist was that they hired to do it. Can you watch movies with VLC? On Linux, I really like to use celluloid and MPV. MPV is the back end. You can actually watch the movies in terminal. But celluloid's a really pretty front end, and it does a great job of interacting with MPV. So I never use VLC on Linux. I think I installed it like last year, and then I made a video that was like, oh man, I got so much hate for. I think it was don't use VLC. Or something like that. I forget what it was. Some clickbaity title. And yeah, it's just because celluloid and MPV work so much better in Linux. There's no reason to use VLC. Just use MPV or celluloid as the front end to MPV. And it's so nice. For Windows, VLC, I have nothing wrong. I don't have any hate to throw at it in Windows. VLC works perfectly in Windows. Yeah, SM Player also works really well too. That's a good front end. Celluloid's more for like GNOME, GTK. SM Player is more Qt based, which is good for KDE. So I really should be using SM Player. Is so true. But all of it really uses MPV. Yeah, VLC works fine in Windows. In Linux, though, VLC has a tendency to, like if you're playing multiple video files all in a row, it has a tendency to get caught. And it just doesn't ever kill properly. And it's just a bit too bulky for what it is used for, or what I was using it for. So it just made zero sense to keep using VLC in my use case. So I switched to celluloid and MPV, or SM Player and MPV is another good alternative. Both those are far superior for my use case. Have you used Cyberlink Power DVD? It gets... Oh, wow. I have not used Cyberlink Power DVD. I remember that software from like 10 years ago. Back when we used discs. I haven't used a disc in, I don't know, a long time. I can't even tell you. I don't even have any physical discs media anymore. Doesn't make sense in today's world. I know some people do, though. I think I remember seeing a video where someone was doing like Blu-ray backups. I was like, oh, what a waste of time. Having backups like that, I just, at that point, just grab some tape drives and go to that route. Probably going to be a lot faster, and the cold storage is going to be better. I mean, within reason. But I mean, are you really going to put something in cold storage for 20 plus years? So, and even then, I think a lot of the modern day tape drives actually do a pretty good job. What do you think of Pipewire? I think Pipewire is going to be the future. I hate Pulse, but I still use Pulse just for compatibility mainly. But it's still... I think Pipewire will easily take it over. Pulse is still a little janky for Linux-based audio. I checked Pot Player. Pot Player had some weird advertisements and stuff, and I just... I didn't like it. I didn't like Pot Player. Ah, there we go. Starkey says there is some tape storage. Look at that. Tape storage. Tape storage, man. It's still a thing, guys. It's still used. If you're into cold storage, you should see modern day tape storage. It's actually not too bad. And it's actually rather fast. Like I said, it just like burning Blu-rays or DVDs, that stuff. I'm just like, I couldn't see a point in it these days. Thank you, Rux. Hope you're having a good day as well, man. Is there any way to bypass BitLocker? I saw your vid, but can't get it to work. No. Your whole file system's encrypted, man. You got to use BitLocker. You got to use whatever Microsoft login you got to access those keys. The nice thing about BitLocker, though, is typically those keys are stored with Microsoft. It's not exactly the most secure thing, but nice for data recovery purposes. Usually you can find your BitLocker key. It's just buried in your Microsoft account, whichever Microsoft account you ended up using. And if you're not using a Microsoft account and you got encrypted with BitLocker and you forgot your password or your recovery phase, nuke and pave, man. There's not much you can do with that. All right, guys. Well, I think we accomplished most of what we wanted to do today. Showed a little bit of the bootloaders, talked a lot of it. A little bit more chat today than I normally do. Usually I stick with a certain thing, but I think we got through most of what we set out to accomplish. Removing System D, putting in grub, theming grub, and then changing like the theme of grub and changing like the background out. I don't think I'll keep that background. I think I'm gonna, wipe all this out, start all over again. I think I'm starting to get the itch again to revisit my window manager again. After messing around with KDE and a lot of the theming, I really miss my window manager. I find myself sitting here looking at KDE and going, this would be better in a window manager. So probably going to be looking at that soon. I know that's not a popular thing, but I still love that old window manager I was using. Awesome is what I was using for that one. We might be revisiting maybe next week. Let's explore window managers, and I'll probably be looking at. I've done the circuit on a lot of the window managers, and BSPWM is probably one of my favorites from a configuration and look standpoint. And I want to kind of revisit it because I don't think I ever gave it a fair shake, and I think it deserves better. And I want to theme that out a bit and kind of make it look nice, and then maybe make like an install script, or maybe just go back to Titus Awesome, the awesome window manager I themed out before, and then just update it to be more in line with what we're seeing now. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm sitting here. We'll see about next week, but next Tuesday, let's plan on it. I'm just going to call it right now. Let's revisit tiling window managers. For Friday's stream, that's going to be all Windows. That's going to be a Windows stream. We're going to be doing Windows debloat, revisiting Windows 11, and messing around with that. I don't know how far I'm going to get. So we might end up pushing Tuesday's stream if I don't get through all of the updates for that script. It might be 2 or 3 streams long. We'll see. Arch Titus took, I think that one ran 5, maybe 6 streams setting that project up, and I'm still hammering out some little things with it on the back end as well. So just want to get that kind of going as well. Please do Xmonad. Maybe. I think I looked at Xmonad, but the setup process for Xmonad and a lot of its defaults are just garbage. But I will say, once you get Xmonad going, like some of the final products are just, so good. But the big thing I really want to do is make the look of a window manager sexy. And not like in a hacker way, but more so an average user would look at it and go, dang, that looks amazing. What are you using? That is the look I want. I don't want the blocky terminal looking garbage like most window managers have. It needs to look good. It needs to have shadows. It needs to have a good aesthetic. And yeah, that's my prerequisites for a window manager. Having like this blocky, I hate it. It just, I know a lot of people dig that about terminal or window managers, but it's just not my jam. L-Cars interface. I think someone actually did an L-Cars window manager, but we can take a peek. But all right, guys, take it easy. Have a great one. I'll probably check you out on Friday if you're interested in the Windows video. If not, check back in on next Tuesday. I'll have something put up. I'll usually wait for Friday's stream. We'll see how that goes, and then I'll know more about next Tuesday. And with that, see y'all in the next one. Peace.